Welcome to this episode of Bias Hacking for Conversation Designers, the Vocline series exploring how different kinds of cognitive biases interact with the work of conversation designers and offering insights on how to mitigate them. Today, we're talking about choice overload. Starting from what is choice overload? So, according to the Decision Lab's definition, choice overload, also known as overchoice, choice paralysis, or the paradox of choice, describes how people actually get overwhelmed when they are presented with a large number of options to choose from. While we tend to assume that more choice is a good thing, in many cases, research has shown that we have a harder time choosing from a larger array of options. The effect of choice overload will become immediately apparent when you think about all the time you spend browsing the Netflix catalog. Probably when you started your Netflix subscription, you thought to yourself, wow, there are so many options, it's impossible that I won't find anything that I like. And yet, there you are, every evening, moving around the different categories and not able to really settle on any of the options you have. Turns out it was much easier to pick an option when you just had a few channels on your TV. How does this affect conversation design? Let's bias hack this. Of course, the disclaimer is always due that we're not claiming to cure the incurable or fix the unfixable. Bias are a part of us and will always be. What we're proposing here is more like a thought exercise than a prescriptive medicine to get rid of bias indefinitely. So let's see what are some ways that we can become aware of and deal with being choice overloaded designers. First step is to establish criteria, maybe even weighted criteria up front. Say you have 1,000 possible use cases you could implement in a project. You could go with the ones that are most easy to automate first, or the ones that are most impactful, or the ones that are most recurrent. Deciding which criteria are most important and then ranking the use cases accordingly can lead you to make a better choice. Second tip is to consciously loop someone in for big decisions, or find someone in your organization who is willing to let you bounce ideas off and see what sticks. Finally, be aware that choice overload can combine with other effects, like decision fatigue, which describes how our decision making gets worse as we make additional choices and our cognitive abilities get worn out. Decision fatigue is the reason we feel overwhelmed when we have too many choices to make. So, if it's the end of the day and you've been trying to make a big, important decision for your project, career, or really whatever else, better sleep on it and pick it back up tomorrow. On the other hand, as designers, we should also be aware of the different ways choice overload can impact our users. So it's always important to be mindful of their decision fatigue and, if possible, of when it might peak. So, for example, for lunch orders from a salad place, users might be really picky about deciding on all the toppings and making sure they're getting a meal that really matches their health goals, compared to users ordering pizza maybe in the evening after a long day who might prefer not being asked 20 questions about toppings and what dough base they prefer. Which leads us to our second point, meaning know that giving options isn't always necessary. Take the case of reorders. Users are likely looking for effectiveness over perfection. So it doesn't really matter that all the toppings on a pizza they're reordering from 2 nights before don't precisely reflect what they want tonight. Being able to quickly repeat the order without having to go through all the single toppings and deciding whether they actually want to keep it or switch it can be much more valuable in that moment. Finally, when necessary, give them ways to inform complex decisions. For example, if you're asking a user to pick between different types of insurance, you'll want to explain what they will get for each of them, and maybe even offer ways to visualize what basic versus premium will actually guarantee them. These are just a few situations where choice overload can impact our work as conversation designers. Let us know if you can think of any other example, and in the meantime, check out our other videos of the series Bias Hacking for Conversation Designers. And as we like to say here, bias for now.